All right, guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to any new people watching this video as well, because I imagine that this video potentially will go out to a little bit of a different audience simply as a result of it being a slightly different topic, obviously a more open topic, but mainly focused towards bodybuilders. So yeah, in this video, I'm going to be talking about my sleep routine for success as a bodybuilder. And I feel like there are some definite intricacies when it comes to sleeping as a bodybuilder, because food timing, water timing, caffeine timing, all of these things that perhaps in other sleep videos are not discussed as much need to be discussed for bodybuilders, because it does make a difference. And as a bodybuilder, especially when you're in contest prep like myself, this weekend I'm 12 weeks out from my first show of this season. What was show? I don't know how many shows it is, but I competed in 2014, 2015, 2017, 2020, and 2021. So this is my 6th season as a natural bodybuilder. Some of you will know that. Some of you new to this channel, new to this video might not. So yeah, as I sort of put together this video, I've come to the conclusion that there's 10 key points. So I'm going to take you through 10 key points. All right. Number 1, it's very clear. It's very obvious. But it's simply get your hours in. Get your sleep hours in. Now, for me, I figured out over the course of a long period of time that I need every single night at least 8.5 to 9 hours in bed to get around about 7 to 7.5 worth of sleep. Because you've got to factor in, when you go to bed, you're not just going to bed and then shut your eyes and then you're off to sleep and that's the whole night. You've got latency in the mix, which is the amount of time that it takes you to get to bed. And then also at the same time, you've got restfulness. You've got periods of time in the night that you can be awake. You could go to the toilet. You could just wake up. You could have a bad dream. Loads of different things, right? So you've got latency, you've got restfulness. That's to be factored in. So you've got to find the amount of hours that you need in bed to dedicate in that environment to get your sleep in. I recommend that you're at least striving to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night. I understand that not everyone will be able to do that, but getting as close to that objective is key, especially as a bodybuilder. So that means you have to have a time you go to bed and a time that you wake up. For me, at the moment, that is going to bed around about 8:30 in the evening. Yes, 8:30. For some people, you will think I have the routine of like a grandma or something. Or like a 7-year-old kid. I remember when I was younger, I used to get told that I had to go to bed at a certain time and come inside from playing outside with my friends. So I feel like that's my routine right now, but I like it. I enjoy it. I like really waking up early and cracking on with work. That's my preference in terms of my sleep routine. So 8:30 to bed, 5:30 to wake. Find your schedule that allows you to get those hours in. And that kind of brings me on to point number 2, which is your routine, okay? This is super important when it comes to aligning your sleep schedule up with a regular circadian rhythm. What we don't understand, a lot of people don't realize, is that the hormones that influence sleep are very much influenced by routine. This is for the people out there that are really struggling to sleep. The first thing that you can do is go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time for 2 weeks. If you can do that and your sleep doesn't improve, I'd be surprised. And that means that you can only watch 4 minutes of this video, come away from it, and massively improve your sleep. And I genuinely promise you that will improve your quality of life massively. Physiologically, psychologically, it will really step you forward. So it's worth this investment. So try to go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time, every day for a couple of weeks. Even if that means that, let's say, for example, you work a job where you have some shifts during the week that are specifically early, and then in the weekend, you're that person that likes to sleep in. If you're that person, comment below. And be honest with yourself. Call yourself out. Comment below. If you've been that person where you sleep in the weekends, and then when you get to the weekdays, your sleep sucks and you can't fall asleep, that's because you've offset that adenosine and melatonin relationship that is going to start to shift your sleep patterns and your routine out of sync. So get in sync. That's the biggest tips that I can give you. Your routine also comes down to a few other things that we'll mention as a bodybuilder, we'll mention in a bit about like what your evening setup looks like. But that is one of the major key players in terms of stepping your sleep forward. So we'll leave it there for now. I will meet you at another point in the day to discuss some more of these points. All right, so tip number 3 is expose yourself to, ideally, sunlight. But if you can't get sun in the UK, expose yourself to a Lumilight. All right, so the amount of lux in this light is almost a little akin to having, going outside and getting some sunlight. It's not the same, and people in hot countries, people in, Dubai, where you can go outside and get sunlight, do that first thing. And even in cold, darker countries when it's cloudy, as soon as the sun comes up, even if you go outside for as little as 20 minutes or so, you will, again, find a difference in that regulation of your sleep. A lot of people get up, first things first, go to their office, it's dark, it's gloomy, and this is why people have something called SAD, which is seasonal affective disorder. In the UK, it's very common just because our winters are very dark, and as a result, we don't get exposed to very much sunlight whatsoever. Vitamin D levels go down, and that results in, well, for some people, like legit depression, like it puts them in a really, really bad place. And I know for sure, working with a lot of clients, that the frequency of poorer mood and kind of depressive symptoms is much more elevated in the winter months. So a Lumilight, that is actually called a Lumilight. Get one of those, pop it on in the first hour to 2 hours of your morning, and you should see a really good impact in terms of your feeling of alertness. And then again, if you sync that up with when you go to bed and when you wake up and you're in that really good rhythm, really good routine, you'll start to feel sleepy at the end of the day, a little bit more alert in the morning, and these little things add up. So that is tip number 3. Expose yourself outdoors with some sunlight within the first 20 minutes of your day. If it's a dark, cloudy day, 20-minute walk. If it's a sunny day, lovely sunny day, it's rare, but if it happens, get outside, spend 10 minutes outside. I always try to spend at least 15 minutes outdoors every day. But if I'm not doing that first thing, which at the moment I don't, because I do just work first thing because it works the best with my routine and my client base, the Lumilight is a godsend. Get one of them, put it in your office, job done. All right, so tip number 4 is a cool room, okay? In the winter, this is not a problem. This is something that's very, very easy. You just go into your bedroom in the UK and it's freezing as hell. Not going to be an issue unless you whack the heating right up, which again is something that I wouldn't recommend. I wouldn't recommend slamming on the heating in the cool, dark months because you want your bedroom to be cool. Body temperature at night, ideally for good restorative sleep, good REM sleep, good deep sleep, you need to be that a little bit cooler. As soon as you start to get hot, you'll notice that if you have, like, especially as a competitor, as a bodybuilder, when you come out of a show and your hormones start to restore, you'll get those kind of like night sweats, which is very normal. But those are the things that will start to interrupt your sleep and keep you up in the night, is when your body temperature starts to rise. So if you can keep your body temperature nice and cool throughout the night, you'll notice a big difference. So make your room cool. In the summer, I recommend keeping a window slightly ajar and just cooling down the room throughout the day. Putting your blinds down in the room so it's like nice and shady if the sunlight's coming in. And then also at the same time, you could use an Oola, which is basically a device that sits next to your bed, and it's a temperature cooling mechanism for your mattress. So we've had one for like 2-3 years now. They work pretty damn well. They also make some nice white noise, which is another one of these tips, which I haven't actually listed, but it is a good tip, is white noise. If you struggle to fall asleep, having something like slightly noisy in the background, it's not like a big noise, but it's just enough noise to stop your head from thinking about loads of different things all at once, which is common for me. My problem is going to bed and thinking about work or thinking about a bodybuilding show or something like that. So having some white noise can help. So the Oola is really good. Set it at a cool temperature. Allow that to keep your bed super cold the whole night. Game changer. Cool room. Make it happen. All right, tip number 5 is when you choose to train and do your activity. So right now I'm doing some steps. It is about midday. On a rest day, I aim to finish my steps by around about 2 to 3 p.m. Why? Because I don't want to be walking at any pace. I don't want to be expending energy, bumping my heart rate up, getting my body alert. I don't want to be doing that half an hour before I go to bed. And the amount of athletes that I know that will be out at 9 o'clock, 10 p.m, hood up, world out mentality, listening to Machiavelli motivation, getting in their steps is very high. However, I do understand that not everyone will be able to finish their steps at 2 to 3 p.m. like me. I have cultivated a life where my work and my job, I can actually do it whilst I'm walking. But there's some of you out there, and a lot of you that are online coaches, that will be able to walk whilst you work. And in other roles, when you can do work on WhatsApp, you can have a business call, you can have a business meeting, you can do a vlog, you can do a lot of it whilst you're walking. So try to fit your steps in strategic blocks throughout the day, so that then you're not doing steps half an hour before you try and go to bed. Because I promise you, you'll struggle to switch off. And then the whole cascade of sleeping issues that will follow will be vast. So get your steps done earlier on in the day, in a rest day. On a training day, obviously you might be walking a little bit later depending on how many steps you got in before you train, because equally you don't want to be slamming in a load of steps before you train and then taking away from your workout performance. But this brings me on to when you train in your day and keeping that consistent. For me, I always aim to get to the gym by around about midday. It was normally in the off season about 1 o'clock, but now it's more so around about midday when I'm dieting, just so I can have more wind down time. So I can get back, finish my last block of steps, and then wind down for the rest of the day. Because that wind down time, that 45 minutes, hour before you go to bed, is so important. So time your activity, time your training in a way that gives you the best sleep possible. All right, so our next point is going to be caffeine and caffeine timing. So this is actually a little bit more of an individual one. Some people will find, if you're an avid watcher of the vlogs, you'll remember when I mentioned that my dad has a coffee before he goes to bed. Weird. I still think it would be better if he didn't have a coffee before he went to bed, but hey ho. So this is a very individual tolerance, like I said. Some people will say, okay, cut your caffeine at 1 p.m. because of caffeine's half-life and the fact that you don't want any caffeine in your system by the time you go to bed. You've got to figure out what works for you. So I know for me, is that if I'm going to bed at 8:30, I need to ideally have my last caffeine serving at 1 p.m. That's going to be a good setup for myself. Now, don't get me wrong, there'll be some days where, I don't know, I'm feeling a little bit more hungry or I'm feeling a little bit more tired and I need to have another caffeine serving. My maximum caffeine servings per day will be 3. I'm not a huge fan of pre-workouts, if I'm being honest with you. I'll occasionally have a Monster, which at the moment on this weird kick of enjoying the OG green and black one, which is basically just a giant Red Bull. I'm not sure why, because most people will be like, what the hell, AJ, that's such a dead flavor. But there's something about that flavor that I just really enjoy at the moment, and I can't put my finger on why. But that's a topic for a different video. So ultimately, 3 caffeine servings per day. If I'm going to have that, I'm going to have one upon wake, so the 5:30, 6 a.m. after I've hydrated. I'm going to have another one around about 11, and then another one around about 1 o'clock latest. That would be how I'd split them up if I was to have them over the course of a rest day. On a training day, typically I'll only have 2. I'll have a caffeine serving upon wake, again a coffee to get me focused on my work, also help with bowel movements, etc. And then I'll also have another coffee before I go and train. Like I said, I don't really go down the sort of super stimmy pre-workouts because they just make me feel really on edge in the gym, and I need a really high level of focus to get the best out of my training. So I find that unless I'm really dragging ass, I don't go down the pre-workout route. So yeah, pick your caffeine usage wisely, find a cutoff time that works for you. Don't be like my dad and drink coffee before you go to bed. That's a super smart way to set up your day to use caffeine wisely and also get great sleep. All right, so our next point for good sleep is going to be water intake. So a lot of people will struggle with going to the toilet during the night and having therefore interrupted sleep. So one of the best things that you can do is figure out what type of, you know, water intake you need to have in the lead up to sleep to stop that from happening, or when you need to cut off your water in the evening to stop you from waking up, going to the toilet in the night. So I find, for me, I don't find it too impactful until I get lean. So, and I'm talking like 10 pounds away from stage weight. And until I'm there, I don't ever really wake up in the night, even if I drink quite a lot pre-bed. Obviously, I'm not going to guzzle on like a 1.5 litre bottle before I go to bed, but still, I don't find that it impacts me too much. And that's a large part down to how you store water. So as you get leaner, you have less space to store water. You have less space inside fat cells where water can be held. So as you get leaner for a contest, if you're dieting down, you know, as a bodybuilder, you will notice that you get up more, you just naturally pee more throughout the day, and then you pee more during the night. One, because you've got a little bit more what's called sympathetic drive, which is basically there's two states in the autonomic nervous system. You're more sympathetically driven because you're very lean. Your body's waking you up partially because you're hungry, and it's in fight or flight mode a little bit more often. So the best thing you can do is relax pre-bed. That's why obviously entering a more parasympathetic state is really important. But yeah, water intake, I typically will cut it off about an hour and a half before bed, and then have my last meal, wait another half an hour or so, and then go to bed. So like before my last meal, I would have finished my water at least like half an hour before my last meal, typically. Obviously, I'll take a little bit of water with my evening supplements, but I'm not like guzzling down. So I'm about 2 hours away from going to bed now, 2.5 hours. And this is going to be like my last water for the day. And I'll probably get this done within the next half an hour. So that is the next point, manage your fluid intake. All right, guys, good evening. So we are on the final touches of the pre-sleep routine. So I'll talk you through a few things. So number one is these that I have on my eyes, blue light blockers. So I've been using blue light blockers since 2015, I'd say. So yeah, 2015, 2016 is when I started using them. Huge shout out to Matt August, because Matt August was probably one of the first people I ever saw wearing blue light blockers. And this was back when blue light blockers were basically looking like you were a construction worker. So there was no fancy blue light blockers. There was just ones that you could get very cheap on Amazon that either looked like you were like going skiing, like downhill, or you were working construction. So they're now super aesthetic, and you can actually get 10% off with Morris 10 at RA Optics. So RA Optics. They are the best blue light blockers in the business. And yeah, I've had that affiliation code since like 2018. So go get yourself some blue light blockers, block blue light. Why? So blue light will inhibit melatonin production, right? So we want to secrete melatonin. We secrete it naturally, but we will secrete more melatonin, primary sleep hormone, when we block blue light, okay? So blue light, screens, telephones, you know, looking at anything, you know, any sort of, you know, artificial light. So, you know, before the days of having artificial light, social media, computers, TV screens, we used to just go to bed when the sun went down, right? You know, and naturally throughout the day, the light would start to de-expose itself, release melatonin, we'd go to bed. So, you know, now we have loads of things that just keep us artificially awake. So block blue light, that's the first step in terms of creating the best start to your pre-bed routine. Second step, and it sounds really simple, but just put away your phone. Put away your phone. Social media can wait, clients can wait. So about an hour before bed, I will put away my phone, leave it on charge, set my alarm, and I'll spend the rest of the evening without my mobile. I will just chill out, relax. Typically, me and Loz will watch some Netflix, we'll watch a series, something that's like somewhat engaging, but not gonna take away from sleep. And yeah, we'll just relax, like just switch off from a busy day, because it's very easy just to be, you know, dug into social media or scrolling TikTok and stuff like that pre-bed. And if you do that, especially if you're one of those people that use your phone whilst you're in bed, before you go to bed, playing stuff on YouTube as you're falling asleep, I guarantee you, your sleep could be better if you just put away your mobile. So put away your mobile and chill out, relax, decompress in the day. Obviously, if I'm at a point where I'm really busy with like shows and the clients need responses, I'll have my phone on me. I have to, but that's part of the job. But typically out of show season, the mobile is away because that needs to be where it goes when I relax for the evening. Next tip, nasal strip. Now, I really, really like nasal strips. I'm not a huge fan of the mouth tape, which a lot of other people use. But basically what we're trying to do with mouth tape or nasal strips is encourage nasal breathing. Nasal breathing is very much in a direct relationship with the parasympathetic nervous system. So as I was telling you guys about before, 2 states of that autonomic nervous system: parasympathetic, rest and digest, so chill out, relax, go to sleep, and then sympathetic, which is fight or flight. So obviously we want to encourage as much of that transition into a parasympathetic state. Basically, in non-nerdy words, it's you getting chilled out, relaxed. So encouraging some nasal breathing is really important for that. I also find that just in general, like breathing more through your nose is not just relaxing, but it's also something that for me is just a healthier way to breathe and just manage day-to-day stresses. If I could wear my nasal strip and not look super silly, I'd probably end up wearing it all day because I really like the feeling of having something that opens up my airways. So yeah, nasal strips or mouth tape, you can look down both routes to help encourage nasal breathing and relax before bed. All right, guys, that is it for today's video. I just want to sign off with thank you very much for watching, checking this out. I hope that anyone that is struggling with their sleep, this video does help. And anyone that is struggling with something specific that I might be able to help with, please comment below. Tell me what you're struggling with if you feel open enough to share it. And I will dive into as many little helpful tips that might help you specifically. Comment below sleep if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys very, very soon. Make sure to like the video, pop a subscribe if you're not already, and we'll catch up very soon. Cheers, guys.